What happens when one of country music's biggest stars finally snaps on live television? Today, we're breaking down the moment Blake Shelton walked off today with Jenna and friends, leaving millions of viewers stunned and the entertainment world buzzing. This wasn't just a routine celebrity interview gone wrong. It was a masterclass in how quickly things can spiral when egos clash and boundaries get crossed. The morning began like any other. Blake Shelton strolled onto the set wearing that familiar Oklahoma grinth, same easy charm that made him a household name. Jenna Bush Hager welcomed him warmly, her notes in hand, ready for what should have been a simple promotional chat about his latest album. "Blake, it's so good to have you back," Jenna beamed. "You look great. Country life must be treating you well." Blake laughed, settling comfortably in his chair. "Well, Jenna, you know me. I'm just a simple guy trying to make music and enjoy life. Thanks for having me again." At first, everything clicked. Blake cracked jokes, shared stories, and spoke about his new single, Life Away from the Voice, and his relationship with Gwen Stefani. The energy was light, familiar. But then, the tone shifted. Jenna's co-host, who had been unusually quiet, leaned forward. "Blake, I have to ask," they began. "There's been a lot of talk about some of your past comments on social media. Critics say you've been tone deaf about social issues. How do you respond to people who think you're out of touch with what's happening in America?" Blake's smile faltered. He straightened in his chair, his jaw tightening. Longtime fans would recognize it as the calm before a storm. "Well," he said carefully, his voice steady but edged, "that's a pretty loaded question right off the bat. I've always been honest about who I am. I'm not trying to be something I'm not." Sensing the tension, Jenna quickly tried to redirect. "Blake, let's talk about your new single. The video is incredible," but the co-host cut back in. "I think it's important we address this. You have influence. A lot of young fans look up to you. Some say you've let them down. What do you say to them?" The warmth drained from Blake's face. His voice hardened. "Look, I came here to talk about my music, not get ambushed about politics. I've never claimed to be an activist. I'm a country singer. But with great success comes great responsibility." The co-host pressed. Blake leaned forward, his Oklahoma drawl sharpening. "My responsibility is to my fans, when I'm on stage, when I'm singing. Sitting in this chair, I'm an entertainer, not your moral compass. And I don't appreciate being lectured by someone who doesn't know a thing about my life or values." Jenna tried again, her voice almost pleading. "Blake, we're not trying to lecture you. We just want an honest conversation." Blake laughed bitterly. "An honest conversation? Then you should have told me this was going to be some kind of trial instead of an interview about my music. I showed up here as a favor to talk about my album, not to be blindsided." Still, the co-host wouldn't let go. "I think viewers deserve to know where their favorite celebrities stand. This isn't an attack. It's about accountability. Accountability." Blake's voice rose, sharp now. "For what? For being successful? For not fitting neatly into the narrative you're trying to push? I've never hidden who I am. Never." By now, the atmosphere in the studio was suffocating. Producers whispered frantically into headsets. Camera operators exchanged worried glances. Jenna's face betrayed panic as she tried to reel things back. "Blake, maybe we can step back, talk about your tour. Something positive. We're all friends here, right?" But Blake wasn't finished. His voice dropped cold. "You know what, Jenna? I thought we were friends. But friends don't set each other up like this. Friends don't drag you onto their show and ambush you with questions that have nothing to do with why you're there." The co-host, ignoring every cue, pushed again. "Blake, I think you're just being defensive. These are fair questions." That was it. Blake shoved back his chair, the mic cord tugging as he rose. His voice thundered. defensive. You're damn right I'm defensive. I came here in good faith. You wanted to make this into a circus. Well, congratulations you got your show, but I'm done. He ripped off his microphone and dropped it onto the chair with a loud crack. The studio fell into stunned silence, without another word. Blake Shelton walked off the set, leaving Jenna speechless, her co-host frozen, and an entire studio audience realizing they had just witnessed a moment that would replay across headlines. For weeks, the studio was silent except for the low hum of cameras and the shuffling of uneasy crew members. Blake sat forward, his voice measured but firm. "I've been nothing but respectful to you and your show," he said evenly. "And yet here, I am being painted as irresponsible and out of touch. Is that really what we're doing today?" Jenna looked stricken, clearly aware that the interview had veered completely off course. But her co-host pressed on, undeterred. "Blake, please, just sit down. Let's work through this. There's a real chance here for you to connect with people who feel alienated by your past comments." That, it seemed, was the breaking point. Blake's expression hardened, his voice dropping to a dangerous calm. "Connect with people who feel alienated," he repeated slowly, each word weighted with disdain. "You know what truly alienates people? Having a talk show host who's never walked in their shoes tell them what they should think or believe. You want to talk about being out of touch? Take a look in the mirror." Jenna frantically gestured to producers off camera, silently begging for a commercial break. But her co-host refused to let go. "Blake, I think you're missing the point. Attacking you, we're just asking you to take responsibility for the influence you have." Blake's eyes narrowed, his voice rose, frustration finally breaking through his restraint. "There it is again. Responsibility. You keep throwing that word at me like I owe you something just because people happen to like my music. Let me make this clear. My responsibility is to my family, to my fans, and to the music I put out into the world. It is not to sit here and serve as your political punching bag." For the first time, the co-host leaned back, realizing too late that they had gone too far. "I'm not trying to make you a punching bag, Blake. I'm just trying to have a meaningful conversation." Blake laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "Meaningful? You think ambushing someone on live TV and lecturing them about responsibility is meaningful? This isn't journalism. This isn't even good television. This is you trying to manufacture a viral moment at my expense." Jenna tried one last time, her voice cracking under the pressure. "Blake, please, let's just take a breath. We love having you here. Your fans adore you. Can't we turn this around?" But Blake was already pulling off his microphone pack, his movements sharp and deliberate. "You know what, Jenna? I thought you were different. I thought you cared about your guests as people, not just props for your ratings. But I walked in here to talk about my music, and instead, I got treated like a politician on trial. Every question designed to put me on the defensive." The co-host interrupted again, pushing the last button. "Blake, maybe you're just being overly sensitive. Public figures should be prepared for tough questions. You can't handle them? Maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews." Blake froze, staring at the co-host with disbelief. The studio seemed to hold its breath. "Overly sensitive," he repeated, his voice dangerously calm. "Let me tell you something about tough questions. For over 20 years, I've answered everything from my divorces, to my struggles with alcohol, to my political views, to my relationship with Gwen, and I've done it with honesty and respect, because that's what professionals do." He stepped closer, his tone cutting like a blade. "But what you're doing isn't about tough questions. What you're doing is about manufacturing a moment, trying to push me until I snap so you can have your viral clip. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted." Jenna opened her mouth, but Blake raised a hand to silence her. No, Jenna, I'm done. I came here in good faith to talk about music with people I thought were my friends. Instead, I got treated like a villain who needed to be taken down a peg. He unhooked the last of his mic pack and started toward the edge of the set. You want to know what's really irresponsible? Using your platform to attack people instead of celebrating them. Forgetting that the person sitting across from you is a human being, not just content for your show. The co-host called after him one last time. Blake, walking away won't solve anything. Why not stay and defend your positions? Blake stopped in his tracks, slowly turning back. His voice was soft now, but deadly serious. Defend my positions. I don't need to defend myself to you. I've lived my life in the open for 2 decades. My music speaks for itself. If you can't see that, then maybe you're the one who's out of touch. And with that, Blake walked off set, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Defend my positions, Blake repeated quietly, turning back toward the co-host. His expression was calm, but the sharpness in his eyes carried more weight than any raised tone could. To whom? Exactly? To you. Someone who decided who I was before I even sat in this chair. Someone who came here not to listen, but to play judge and jury. He let out a short, humorless laugh. Let's be clear, the problem isn't that I can't or won't defend myself. It's that you never intended to actually hear me out. You came looking for a soundbite, not a conversation. Jenna's eyes brimmed with tears. Blake, I never wanted this to happen. Please don't walk out like this. For the first time, his expression softened as he looked at her. I believe you, Jenna. I really do. But this is what happens when a show stops being about the guest and starts being about someone else's agenda, when you stop treating people like people and start treating them like targets. He turned back toward the co-host, his composure now edged with unmistakable disappointment. And as for you, whatever you thought you achieved here, I hope it was worth it. Because what you've really done is burn a bridge with someone who has shown you nothing but respect. Every time I've come on this set, Blake, I only ask the questions people at home wanted answered, the co-host replied, trying to sound steady. Questions they wanted answered. Blake echoed, his voice tightening. Or questions you thought would make good television. There's a difference between serving your audience and serving your own ego. He turned toward the cameras, addressing the viewers directly. And, since we're being honest, I think you deserve to know what actually happened here today. I came here to talk about music, to share some stories, to maybe make someone smile for a few minutes. Instead, I was blindsided with lectures about responsibility from people who apparently think their job is to tear down whoever doesn't fit their script. If you've ever felt like the media is more interested in drama than in hearing you out, you just saw it play out right here. The co-host shifted uncomfortably, but tried again. Blake, that's not a fair characterization, fair. Blake cut in, raising his brows slightly. Fair would have been telling me before we went live that this was going to be an interrogation instead of a conversation. Fair would have been extending the same respect I've always given this show. For years, I've come here, shared stories, promoted albums, done my best to be genuine. But apparently, what mattered most wasn't the music or the fans. It was creating a gotcha moment. Jenna, now openly crying, shook her head. Blake, I swear I didn't know. I never would have wanted this. I know, Jenna, he said softly. But the fact that you didn't know makes it worse. It means someone on your own team thought it was acceptable to ambush me and didn't even bother to tell you. He scanned the studio, meeting the eyes of stunned crew members and frantic producers. This is what happens when television forgets its purpose. It's supposed to bring people together to brighten someone's day, not divide and humiliate for the sake of clicks. The co-host, still unwilling to let go, said Blake, I think you're underestimating our viewers. They can handle serious conversations. Blake studied them for a long moment, then spoke with quiet finality. "You're right about one thing. The viewers are smart. Smart enough to see through exactly what you tried to do here today." Blake stopped halfway to the exit, his boots echoing on the studio floor. His voice was lower now, steadier, but it carried like thunder. "Smart. Enough," he said, eyes locked on the camera, to recognize the difference between a real conversation and a setup. Smart enough to know when someone's being invited to talk about music and, instead, gets put on trial. The audience sat frozen. You could feel the air being sucked out of the room. "Blake, please." Jenna's voice cracked as she stood, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Don't leave it like this. We can fix this. We can start over." Blake turned, pausing at the edge of the set. His anger had cooled into something colder pity. "Jenna," he said gently, "I respect you. I always have. But this isn't about you and me. This is about what your show has turned into, what television's turned into. Hosts thinking their job is to prosecute, not listen. To corner people instead of talk to them." His gaze shifted to the co-host, sharp as a blade. "And as for starting over, some things can't be undone. Some bridges, once you burn them, don't get rebuilt. You made your choice about what kind of show you wanted today. I'm making mine about whether I want to be part of it." The co-host straightened, clinging to the last shred of authority. "Blake, I hope you'll reconsider. We could still have a productive conversation." Blake actually laughed, humorless, cutting sound. A productive conversation. With someone who spent 20 minutes trying to make me look like a villain. Who thinks ambushing guests is good TV. No, that's not conversation. That's theater. He took a step toward the exit, then turned suddenly back to the camera, eyes burning. "To anyone watching at home who's ever listened to my music, come to a show, or just had a good time singing along, I want you to know this isn't about you. This is about a media culture that's forgotten how to treat people with basic decency. I'll keep making music. I'll keep playing shows. But I'm done subjecting myself to people who think their platform gives them the right to tear down whoever they please." "Blake, I swear to you," Jenna begged. "If you'll just stay, we can have the conversation you came here for." He looked at her one last time, sadness softening his voice. "Jenna, the conversation I came for was about music, about joy, about something positive. That conversation died the moment your co-host decided this was a courtroom instead of a studio." He pulled out his phone, glanced at it like the clock had already run out. "I've got a studio session with people who actually want to listen. I've got fans waiting to sing songs, not debate politics. That's where I belong, not here, being lectured about my own life." The co-host still wouldn't let go. "I just hope you'll think about how your words affect people." Blake stopped, his back still to them. His voice rang out, steady, final. "You want to know what affects people? Treating them like human beings. Showing respect instead of chasing ratings. Building people up instead of tearing them down. Maybe think about that next time, because today you didn't just lose a guest. You lost someone who's always been nothing but professional and respectful. To this show." He turned, gave Jenna a final nod, and walked off set. The camera lingered on Jenna's tear-streaked face. The co-host shrinking in their chair. The studio stunned into silence. Then hard cut to commercial. What was meant to be a routine promo for Blake's new album had turned into one of the most dramatic walk-offs in live television history. A moment replayed, clipped, debated, dissected. A moment that asked one unavoidable question: was Blake Shelton right to walk off, or should he have stayed and fought it out?